Okay, so what we're going to do now is set up the stretch bone for this elbow. So go ahead and click on this bone, do Shift S and do cursor to select it. Now go ahead and do Shift middle mouse button to pan this over here. And what we're going to do is just click on this layer and click on this line. This is the w.knee.align.ik.l. Just going to do Shift D to duplicate this and go ahead and place this over here. Now go ahead and press the Shift key down and turn this layer back on. Now here you can see that the y-axis is pointing this way. So all we have to do is really just click on this bone, press the Shift key down, click on this line, do Shift Control C, and of course do copy transforms. Now click on this line, do Control A and do Visual Transform, go to the constraints over here, just turn this off to make sure that it works, and go ahead and X this out. Now here you're going to click on this red arrow and just bring it to the right. It just makes it easy to select this later on. Now of course the origin point is right here, and when you have this on median point, we can now just press the S key to scale this down a bit in object mode. Now let's take a look at this name. So this is W knee. So here all we have to do is really just replace the knee with elbow. And here we're just going to make sure that it just says ik.l and enter. Okay, go ahead and hover your mouse, do Control Z, click on this bone, go to the bone tab over here and just do Control V. Okay, and here what we want to do is actually go to the data tab and turn off the axis so it doesn't come in our way. Do Shift middle mouse button. Now again, when we go to the constraints, what this number is showing is how far the head of this bone is away from the head of this bone, right? So here again, you just have to experiment with these numbers to get the line to how you want it. So here I'm just going to type in, try out a number, 0 point. I'm going to try 0.8 first to see where this goes. So for me, it actually ended up over here, okay? Again, you can just test out depending on where you actually place this. You can place it a bit over here or close to it. It's up to you. So this is actually all set up and ready to go. So here I'm just going to click on this and press the S key to just scale the object itself a little bit just to match it over here. Now of course, since we duplicated it, if you press the M key, this should already be here on this layer, okay? And now let's go ahead and click on this and press the M key. And here you can see that this is on this layer. So we want to make sure that this goes on the touch bone layer also. Okay, go ahead and click this. Now here we can just click on this layer over here. Go ahead and go to the data tab and just click this over here to see that here what we should have are all the touch bones intact. So if you click on this and press the G key, it will simply tag along with this. Okay, so you want to press the 3 key over here and press the G key to make sure that this is working correctly. Okay, okay, so that works. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go ahead under File, do Save As, and let's save this as Rigging Lesson 04 n.blend. Okay, so let's go ahead and now set up the drivers. So go ahead and press the 1 key to go to the front view. Go ahead and click on this data tab, and here you want to make sure that the touch bone layer is selected. Press the Shift key down and turn on the non-deform layer. So go ahead and click on this bone and just zoom in. Let's go to the bone constraints over here. Okay, so over here we're just going to do add a driver, manually create later. Do the same thing on this one, add a driver, manually create later. And of course here on this hand bone, add a driver, and then do manually create later. Okay, now if we want to basically switch between IK and FK, we're going to create the driver on this IK bone itself. So go ahead and go to the bone tab over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and collapse this and create a new property. Click on edit, and here we're just going to call this, actually we'll call this fk/ik arm dot L, and enter, and click on OK. All right, go ahead over here and just right click and do copy data path. Okay, now just to show you that over here, if I press the 3 key to zoom in on this area, when we click this, we had called this fk/ik leg.l. Okay, so basically doing the same thing over here. So go ahead and just focus in on this area over here. Let's go ahead and bring up the graph editor and go to drivers over here, and let's go ahead and select this handbone, click this, go ahead and open this up, go to drivers over here, and go ahead and change this to single property. I'm going to do armature, do control V over here for the fk/ik arm.l, and over here I'm just going to do average values, and this will be set up. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this bone, do the same thing, armature. Over here I'm going to do single property, do control V. Over here just do average values. Remember, you can always click on update dependencies at any time if you get some error message. So over here I'll choose a single property, armature, do control V over here, and just do average values. Okay, so this should be set up. Let's go ahead and collapse this, press the 1 key. Now over here let's go to the data tab and only turn on the touch bones over here. Now of course if you click on this bone, and here you can see that we have this turned on, so if we press the G key, this will be the IK system. Okay, so here I'm just want you to place this something like this, and now if you turn this off, this will jump back to the FK. So you can see that we can still rotate the hand over here. Okay, so this is all set up, and if we go back over here and turn this on a value of 1, if we click this and press the R key 2 times, we can start to rotate the hand or move it with the IK system, right? And of course this is not going to work, but if you position it, let's say kind of like this, and click over here and of course remove this, then it'll just snap back to the FK system. Okay, so that's how this is all set up. So here I'm actually going to turn this off because by default I don't want the IK on, so I'm going to click on this, do Alt R and G, and over here let's go ahead and just click this to make sure that this is on 0 and this is on 0. Okay, so that's all set up. So what we need to do now is take a look at all the locks on these bones. So first we're going to look at these touch bones over here. Okay, now what we want to do is let's go ahead and just click on the shoulder to make sure that this is set up. Right, this is for rotations. Now click over here. Now here we want the user to be able to change the location but not the rotation, so we're going to just lock this, and of course the scale, and let's click on this FK over here. Of course over here we don't want them to touch the location. Over here this is set up correctly, the scale should be locked. Let's go ahead and take a look at the FK version. We want them to be able to rotate, this is correct, and over here we want them to be able to change the location and rotation but not the scale. Okay, so these guys over here are going to be set up correctly. And let's go ahead and click on the stretch bone. Now this one of course has to be completely locked down. Now we don't want users touching this bone, so here I'm just going to hover the mouse and press the period key to home in on this, look for this highlighted circle over here, and of course in the same way we would have to go ahead and make sure that it is not selectable. Okay, so the user shouldn't be able to select this bone. So that's set up. So what we want to do is to go ahead and now go to the data tab, and let's take a look at the IK bones themselves. Over here, of course, we're just going to lock everything down. Click on this and make sure that this is all locked. We don't want users touching this. Now let's go to the non-deform. Now over here, you're going to press the 1 key and actually just zoom in a bit. Now over here on this bone, we want everything locked down. This one, we want everything locked down. And on this one, we want everything locked down. And on this one, everything should be locked. And on this one, everything should be locked. Now, of course, we have to get to the internal bones, so you can just press the Z key to see where they are. So here you can see that we've got this bone inside. So we want to lock this down all the way. And this guy over here, we want to lock this down all the way. Okay, I'm just going to press the Z key over here. Now, what we want to do is basically click over here and click on these two bones. And here we're just going to put these bones back to the non-deform layer. Now, before you do that, it's a good idea to actually make sure that the deform is off on these two bones. Okay, so here I'm going to click on this bone, press the M key, and go ahead and just put these bones on this layer over here. Okay, so now over here we should have all the bones here on this layer. Now let's go ahead and click on this and just click on these and just make sure that on the bone tab the deform is off on all these bones over here, which it is. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the data tab and just click on this over here. I'm just going to press the tab key to go into edit mode and click on these bones. So over here, the deform is off. The deform is off. Well, you might have to click a couple of times over here to get to all the bones. The deform is off. This one, and over here, the deform is off. Okay, so now what we want to do is actually go to the data tab over here and press the 7 key to go to the top view and click over here and just make sure that the deform is off on this bone. Okay, so go ahead and go to the bone tab and the deform should be off on this one. Okay, and it is. Okay, so this whole thing is set up now. So what we want to do is go ahead and now just focus this over here, go under File, do Save As, and I'm going to save this as rigging lesson 040.blend. Okay, so what we're going to do now is mirror the arm rig to the right side. So go ahead and switch to edit mode, go under options over here and make sure that the X-axis mirror feature is off. Go ahead and go to the data tab, press the shift key down and make sure that the touch bone layer is selected, the non-deform bones, and of course the deform bones. Go ahead and do shift middle mouse button. Now over here, what we have to do is first delete out all these bones. So just click on this bone first. Now go ahead and just press the B key, and here you can just select all these bones like this, do X and delete these bones, right? Because we have the X-axis mirror feature off, everything should be deleted. Now what we need to do is actually select all these bones. Now of course before we do this, because we've made this bone to be unselectable, right, we're not going to be able to actually select this bone correctly. You can see that when we select it, the body doesn't select. So in this case, you just press the period key on your numpad to go over here and make sure that it is selectable and just ensure that it works. Okay, now press the 1 key. Now what you want to do over here is make sure that you get all the bones, including the deform bones. So go ahead and press the B key and just do a box select, and of course press the G key to ensure that you actually did get all the bones. Right click to cancel. All you have to do now is just do W and symmetry, but ensure that everything ends up on this side, and it does. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go ahead and click on this bone over here and just press the period key on your numpad to home in on it and make sure that it is unselectable. Okay, now go ahead and click on this one, and what you want to do is go ahead and press the period key on your numpad and make sure that it is unselectable. Okay, so that's set up. Now what we want to do is go ahead and switch back to pose mode over here and press the 1 key to go to the front view. Now of course we're going to look at the bone shapes a little later, mirror them correctly, but what we want to do over here is fix the driver. All you have to do is click on the hand.touch.ik.r, go to the bone tab over here, click on edit, and of course change this to .r and click on OK. And over here, just right click, do copy data path. And what we want to do is actually get to the FK bone. Okay, so here I'm just going to go to the data tab over here and just make sure that I have the non-deformed bone layer selected. What you want to do is actually just click here. Might have to click a couple of times to get to this bone, the FK bone, which has these constraints. Just right click to add a driver, you manually create later. Do the same thing over here, right click to add a driver, manually create later. Click on this one, add a driver, manually create later. Okay, now go ahead and open this up, go to the graph editor, go to drivers. Since I have this bone is selected over here, I'm just going to click over here, open this up, go to drivers, and of course go ahead and change this to single property, go to armature, do Control V, change this to average values, click on update dependencies. Now go ahead and go back to this bone, do single property, armature, do Control V, average values. I'm just going to click on update dependencies. And of course, make sure you go to this one, go ahead and do single property, click on armature, do Control V over here, and do average values. Okay, now let's leave this driver panel up. I'm just going to do update. Now go ahead and go to the data tab, and let's just click on these touch bone layer, click on this bone, go ahead and do the middle mouse button to rotate the view a little bit and press the G key. And let's say if this works, so go ahead and turn this all the way to value of 1, and this should work. I'm going to park this over here and change this, make sure that this is working, and it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this and make sure that it's at 0. Press the A key to select everything, do Alt R and G over here. Now of course we're going to click on this one and do the same thing. So here what we need to do is click on edit over here, and here we're going to call this arm.r and click on OK, and just right click on this, do copy data path, go ahead and press the 1 key, go to the data tab over here and make sure that the non-deformed layer is selected, click on this bone, go to the constraints, right click to add a driver, manually create later, click over here, and what we want to do over here again is just do single property, do armature, do Control V, and just do average values, do update dependencies, and just go ahead and collapse this over here. Okay, now go ahead and go to the data tab, press the shift key down, turn on the touch bone layer and press the R key to just rotate a bit like this. Go ahead and click this and make sure that this is working, right? So now if we do this, this should work. So I'm just going to press the A key to select everything, do Alt R and G. So let's go ahead and just set this up over here. Go under File, do Save As, and we're going to save this as Rigging Lesson 04 p.blend. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.